Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Q&R Code podcast. Happy Tuesday, if that's when you're listening. And I hope that everyone had a fun 420/Easter or just weekend in general. I felt like this was really a true springy weekend. We did start the weekend off here with quite a bit of snow, and then yesterday, or on Easter 420, the holiday Sunday, we had so many of our tulips and everything around to open up. So the snow really just gave the little extra bit of moisture and support that our blossoms needed to open. And I'm so excited looking around my property and out my window that now there's just little pieces of a little pink, a little yellow, a little red as I look around. And I know Riley has been having those privileges for some time now, seeing her beautiful town full of flowering blooms. But I feel so excited that we finally have caught up to you guys a little bit.
Oh, that's the best. It's so cute and it makes me so happy when things are opening up. I now am at the stage where what I planted, not like the bulbs that come up early, but some of the seeds are starting to get bigger. My sunflowers in particular, obviously that's a much bigger flower, so they're really getting bigger. Like if they are bigger than my hand, their leaves coming out.
Aww.
Not blooming yet, but I get so excited watching everything progress, and it did get a big surge this weekend. We clearly did not have snow, but there was something in the air, I guess, across.
Yeah, something in the air.
The Easter bunny must have pollinated quite a few gardens.
The Easter bunny is a pollinator? I did not
It's
know
very
that.
multifaceted. A pollinating, egg-laying rabbit.
Yes.
Pretty exceptional.
Rabbit, we are having so many of the springtime just baby bunnies around our property, and it is so fun and so cute and also so terrifying because we have some predators that are part of our little family that are really excited about the baby bunnies.
This was a scene that I don't know what was happening, but the other day I was coming back in front of my house, and literally from our garden that's out front, that's like kind of sloped, I saw a squirrel coming down and it was dragging something, and I was like, huh, what's going on there? And it was dragging another squirrel, and fully in its mouth it had like most of another squirrel, and then its little like butt and tail was dragging behind. And I'm like, are you returning the body of a fallen friend to somewhere that it needs to be, or did you just off that little guy and are removing the evidence, or what's happening here?
I don't picture them being carnivorous. I don't, but are they?
No.
Are they
I do not
omnivores?
think
Maybe.
I don't
You think that
squirrels are, but
they were just moving the body. Okay, brief pause in our positivity. I do just want to rip off the Band-Aid and update you guys about some things that have happened to our little barnyard these past couple of weeks. I thankfully have expressed this emotion enough times that I am just going to disassociate a little bit through telling, and I don't feel like we have to go super deep into it. But I do think of this podcast, first of all, Riley and I want to share our lives with animals and everything with you guys, and I also think of it as a little, I don't know, journal and a cool way for Riley and I to be able to be documenting our lives. And I did want to update the last episode, clearly, which thank you guys for loving on. I thought that episode was so fun and so awesome, and I'm glad that you guys liked it too. But we didn't want to bring the mood down, so just before that episode, like a couple of days before recording that one, we did end up losing our goat, Teddy, who we had talked about a few weeks ago, that he had had some struggles with what we thought was a spider bite. We believe now that it might have been a snake bite, but I don't really want to get too much into the details of that situation just because I think for me right now, it just feels like no point. And then this past week, we ended up having to unexpectedly put one of our horses down, Captain. So it's been just unexpected loss on the homestead, and we definitely just have a little heartachy homestead right now, and I don't want that to be that's not the focus of this episode, so don't click off if you're like, I am not in the mood for being super down right now. I just wanted to be honest and give a quick update about that.
That is just so hard ever to lose an animal in your life that means a lot to you, and how these both happened close together is just so tough. But I am glad that they have their little partnership being spirits together now. And yeah, we don't have to go more into it because it is still very fresh and emotional, and we've been feeling it a lot, especially because, yeah, it was just so unexpected with Sweet Captain. But anyone that has spent significant time with horses, or even not, so many people haven't spent a lot of time with horses, but just seeing them one time, like having an interaction, you can feel how meaningful it is. They are just extremely emotionally like intelligent animals. I feel like they just tap into our wavelength really well. I think there's a reason that people feel so connected with like horses and dogs, because there's definitely something there, and you know what it feels like when you love a creature so much. And it's such a unique type of grief that is very, not to put be again toxic positivity, but what I have been thinking is it gives me a lot of gratitude just to the people, people in my life right now, of like, wow, it's easy to take these relationships for granted. I don't think that you and I do, because we talk about all the time like how lucky we feel for them, but just seriously refocusing on like how much room they take up in our hearts. It's really special.
Yeah, and how much time they take up in our lives, and what it just looks like when you dedicate yourself to caring for another life and maintaining and making sure they're thriving and happy and cared for. It's just a big change for that to one day be gone. One day that's just not like, I'm not thinking about, and with Captain, he was a huge time commitment because he had multiple different little health things, and we spent a lot of time with him every day, and there were several trips out to the barn every single day for our past few years, taking care of him to make sure that he was getting the amount of food he needed. And anyway, more logistics, but I'm so grateful to those babies of mine, and I'm so grateful for all of the love and support. And I do think, like, if there is anything positive that is to be gained from loss, I'm just gonna disassociate through this. Okay, well, this is still me disassociating, even only shedding a couple of tears, but it does bring community out. Always. I feel that I'm really lucky for the community, and thankfully I don't at all feel like, oh, these people only come out of the woodworks when I'm grieving. No, it's people that I have support through and feel that with all the time, but I do feel really grateful for feeling just that people do understand and and give us a lot of love and support and know that it's an um unusually difficult time. So that I'm very grateful for. And speaking of animals, my dog Pinkerton is begging me to go outside. So I'm going to open the door for her. Okay. We can be moving on. Thanks for letting me share with you guys. It's obviously kind of like what do we even move on? Here. I'll have a segue to move on. I baked some lovely sourdough bagels this morning, and that felt really good. And I loved having a fresh bagel straight out of the oven. You guys, if you haven't tried baking your own any sort of bread, any sort of bagel, something like that, please, Riley and I beg of you, if we can influence one thing of you, and I did say a few episodes ago that I don't want to act like our hobbies are superior, but obviously eating food, like, come on. Eating a delicious, nourishing treat that is warm out of the oven that your hands made yourself, that is one of the best hobbies. So I take back what I said. That is a superior hobby. Please, for the love of goodness, please, you guys, try baking yourself something. And now, Riley, just give us a brief details of what you made for your Sunday little Easter brunch.
Yes, so again, you guys get sneak peek of my Martha recipes on the Q&R code because I can't contain it. I also did post this to my Instagram stories because I was excited about this little bunt cake that I made. A bunt, for those that aren't familiar, are the cake with a hole in it, which is such a classic joke in my family that
My
I
big
was very
fat Greek wedding.
yes, and so I was excited to bake this because I had never made one before, but our family always jokes about bundt cakes, and it turned out really well. There was a bit of a snafu with some sticking to the pan, but nothing that I couldn't cover up with some little pansies from my garden placed along the top, and it
So
looked so
cute.
cute that way. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about with this holiday weekend was Brayden and I watched Dazed and Confused. And first of all, have you seen it, Quinn?
I don't think so, but I was trying to think of what I thought that this movie was. Dazed and Confused. That I swear, isn't it like Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa or something, and they're in high school? So what one
No.
is that? What's that called?
I can't remember what that's called, but this one is with Matthew McConaughey, young Ben Affleck.
No,
I'm
so
trying to
I have not seen it. How
yeah,
can you be a
I
stoner for this many years and have not seen Dazed and Confused? I don't know, and I am sorry, but
Okay, see, this is what I thought, like, oh, we have to have seen this movie. Britt and I were both very excited to watch it. Now, I'm not about to trash it because I know it is, like, so ingrained in the canon. However, for me, it does not really hit and fit in the way your Pineapple Express, your even, like, Harold and Kumar series. There are,
okay. Yes.
lots of options that are outlandish and silly, but this Dazed and Confused is very violent. And the type of violence that it is like seniors, so like 17, 18-year-olds, like really wanting to beat up children. The premise is like
What?
that it's their last day of junior year and it's these kids like last day of 8th grade, and so they're the rising seniors, and they're like, we have to go find the rising freshmen and beat the shit out of them. But like they are bloodthirsty, like they are wanting to actually like ruin these kids' lives, and also very like predatory towards the young girls rising into high school. And so Brayden and I both, I think, just with that whole premise, were like, kind of a bad taste in your mouth. But there were certainly funny lines. Like, what I had heard before is the classic McConaughey line where he says, "Hey man, you got a joint?" And the kid's like, "No." And he's like, "It'd sure be cooler if you did." But there are like some funny little lines like that. But even Matthew McConaughey, like his character is supposed to have been like held back several times and is
Oh,
supposed
yeah.
to be in college, but he
But
keeps on
is
talking
just
about
a
like,
creep in high school.
yes, yes, like he
Okay,
keeps on
now that
talking
you
about
say
like
that,
he just likes the younger girls.
I
Ooh.
maybe 10 years ago or something, maybe I did see that and I must have been so stoned. Maybe I just don't remember. But now what you're outlining, that is ringing more of a bell for me. Um, so that's bizarre.
This is where maybe my Gen Z sensibilities don't always like older movies, because when Quinn and I a few times recently have tried to watch something from like the 80s or 90s, like 16 Candles, and they're like, "Oh, these are a coming of age movie." And then you watch it and you're like, "Ugh. It's so racist, misogynistic, and gross."
Yeah.
Like I think that the palette of that sort of humor is just really different now, and
Yeah.
I can't say that this is like going to be tossed into the rotation.
I did not watch Stoner movie. I didn't watch anything because we were just too. Once we got home from our little a get together that we went to, Sean and I were very tired and took care of the barnyard and got our dishes cleaned and went to bed. So we didn't watch anything, but I could always use a rerun of Pineapple Express.
Do you know what I was also reminded of, Quinn? Do you remember that? So Quinn and I started out babysitting very young, like young enough where our mom was there and like we had kids over to our house and she was like teaching us kind of dry run how
We
you
were
can
her
take care of kids.
apprentices.
We were the yes, apprentices. It's the family business, and this knowledge passed along to us. But then Quinn and I started out by being co-babysitters, which those families really lucked out because we did not double charge. We were like, you can pay
Two
us
for
one
the price of
hourly.
one.
We
Literally.
will split it, but it's better to do it together. And there was this family that was difficult, to say the least, and had lots of preferences and big feelings. And one time, Quinn and I were just there for a little bit while they were there, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, cool," to the 2-year-old. And the mom was like, "Please don't say that." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, what did we say?" We were always very conscientious about not using bad words and the like that was not allowed in our house. But she was like, "Please don't say cool in front of my kids. Like, I want her to talk in a serious, elevated way, not like a skier that's just, oh yeah, cool, rad, that's so sick." I'm like,
You hired the wrong
okay.
you hired the wrong people. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to let me go because that is not changing about me.
First of all, welcome to Jackson. Second, okay, I'll try to remember not to say cool. Should I have been like, oh, stupendous? Jeez.
Riley, how are you liking your having a babysitting rotation more so in your life right now? I don't know if you've even talked to the podcast about that. You're consistently watching some little babies.
Yes, I have been, and it's been really fun. It's just so cool to see kids when they're so little. One is an infant and one's a toddler that I'm watching, and the infant especially just has changed so much over the past few months that I think is really fun to get to see. And the toddler at this age is still changing a lot pretty quickly before your eyes as well. But I've enjoyed that. It's nice to be around kids. I've always liked doing those sorts of jobs and have a lot, and it's always for me nicer to do like a family consistently than just random babysitting jobs because then you
Yeah.
actually get to build the relationship. Yeah,
It
that's
makes me
going
just so
well.
happy thinking of you with little babies and ugh, I Riley and I are so excited about motherhood at some point, and when I picture you with the babies, it just makes me think about how I'm going to be thinking about you when you have your own baby. It's just such, I don't know why, once again, we are the youngest 25-year-old women on earth, and the thought of us having children is like, uh, we are teenagers. We are literally so young, barely out of high school. It's a crazy thought, but we're gonna have babies one day, I'm sure. And I'm going to freak out about your babies.
Yeah, I feel that we actually have to be located right next to each other when we have babies because your baby, I am just going to want to scoop up and never put down and run away with. Like, I'm just picturing a little baby Quinn. Think how much I love you. When we have babies, we're probably gonna have like our own maternal instincts imprinted on
Yeah,
each other's babies and can have
yes.
the hardest time not being around them.
I am right now in my chest, like the feeling of cuteness aggression is literally like boiling in my veins. And I'm like, maybe I straight up should probably talk to a therapist because I am thinking about your baby and literally all I want to do is squeeze my hands and shake so hard. I'm like,
Jeez.
the thought, I'm just like, I literally want to think of just squeezing its little adorable body and just be, oh my gosh, I just can't. Yeah, I need to get
My
that
baby
under
is
wraps,
gonna be
but
like, why does Auntie Quinn always just go like hyper squeeze mode on the stress ball when I'm around?
her eyes just get bigger and she just starts clenching her teeth and squeezing her hands. I am just very excited. I'm so excited. I do feel I return to telling myself this all the time because I have for years been sure that a baby was gonna come like anytime now, because I am baby crazy. I do, those hormones are pumping through my veins. Like, I truly am someone who is very affected by the baby crazy hormones. Like, I really, some people, women will tell me that they don't have that at all, even that are with partners that they love so much that they see having their whole life with, and even like women who do want babies, but they're like, no, I'm just like definitely waiting till my 30s or whatever. And I'm like, aren't you so lucky that you don't feel so baby crazy, even when I know right now is not the time for me? And if a baby came into my life, I feel so confident that I would parent it very well and that it would be wonderful and lovely and that it would feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is the right timing because here you are. And it would work out for me because of the stability I have in my relationship and with our jobs, etc., etc. But it is crazy to me that there are just people that just feel totally good about, no, like, I'm going to wait 10 years and that's just seems easy for me because me wanting to wait and talking to myself through why I want to wait and reminding myself what I want. It's like I literally have to just try to push it out of sight and out of mind as much as possible because my body is going crazy for babies.
For me, it definitely comes and goes in waves and on particular days. Like yesterday, I brought up to Brayden, isn't this nice to be in a part of our life where we can both just be like, yep, today we're having a full day off. Clearly, there's like the
Yeah.
limited responsibilities that we have with the animals and our garden, but in general, I think we all know how different that is than an infant to
Yes.
take care of like a self-sufficient living creature that just needs something from you than constant surveillance for you. And I am so happy. I think that's what it is like when I feel happy being in this stage of my life. I'm just like grateful to be where we are and be present in this moment because I know it won't always be like this.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of your 20s you kind of get to look back on as the good old days, and I know that we are going to treasure this time down the road just as much, clearly in a different way, but as the newborn time and as like these different stages that happen. This is not to knock men at all, guys. Thank you. Somehow Quinn and I have a strong male listenership of this podcast, which I will say I was not expecting when we talked about our demographics, and I appreciate that. And I frankly do think men need to listen to more women because I don't think that that always happens. And so I appreciate that. You need to hear this too, especially you, but I don't want your feelings to get hurt. It's just the case that sometimes I don't know if it's just the motherhood intuition that helps women so much or the socialization. I think that it's probably a healthy mix of both, but I have recently seen some dad parenting that I have just felt like, okay, guys, look alive, look sharp. Brayden and I were playing pickleball, and there was this little girl that must have been under 2. I can pretty much pinpoint kids' ages now that I've spent so much time around them. She was young, she was toddling, but she was probably about a year and a half. And Brayden and I were getting in the car afterwards, and she was just walking down the path, coming closer and closer to the parking lot, and we are seeing who is probably her dad up the way, back turned, having a conversation with another dad, and they're just chatting. And Brayden and I are not getting in our car yet because we're like, what's going to happen? And somebody was backing out, and then sure enough, she steps off the road and starts, and I was like, oh, hello, started talking to her, like walking her away. This car pulls out. They absolutely wouldn't have been able to see her. Other cars are pulling in. Still, the dad's not paying attention, and I just ended up being like, come here, let's walk this way with her. And she started walking, dropped her stuffed animal right there. I picked it up, brought it over, and then when I'm a yard away from her dad, he's like, oh yeah, she's mine, it's fine. And I'm like, okay, she dropped this. Hello, your daughter could have just been in the street hit by a car, not to be dramatic, but literally I'm like, why are you just acting like, oh yeah, he didn't say anything, he didn't once in this whole time turn and look his head. And I don't want to shame parents, I just have the instinct that her mom might pay a little closer attention to her whereabouts because you know how quickly things can happen at this age. And then I was at the park the other day, and these dads were bringing kids for playtime at the park, which I was like, great. I love to see at least like a dad participating and taking the kids somewhere to do
I
something.
love to see a dad participating. We love to see the bare minimum anyway.
Yeah. Like, congratulations, but these boys were running absolutely amok. At the playground, I get it, do what you want to do, but like, their dads were like, don't run up the slides. They immediately run up the slides, and then the dads are like, ugh, okay, oh well, dang it. And they just kept on asking things of the boys and would just kind of like say, hey, don't do this. And then the boys just would, and they wouldn't do anything. It's easy to be very critical of parents, but my point is, these boys were bigger kids, probably 7 or 8, and this playground is for littles and big kids, and since the kid that I'm watching is only 2, I have to advocate for his space because bigger kids sometimes can not be very conscientious, and because they just perceive it as a kid too. It's not like they have any responsibility to it, but kind of push him around and stuff. And so he was about to go down the slide, and these two boys started running up, and I've heard their dads ask them collectively like 8 times not to go up the slides. And I try to talk to kids, obviously nicely, but it was one of those moments where it was just quick because my kid was about to come down the slides and they were immediate like running right up, and I did not want him to get hurt while I'm watching him. So I just immediately was like, "Hey boys, wait. Come back down. There's a kid that's like gonna slide down the slide." And they both looked at me as if they weren't gonna listen, and I said, "Please come down right now." And they both did, and then the dad was like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, we've like let them know not to." I was like, "Yeah, I've heard. I just have a 2-year-old that I'm responsible for and need to make sure that he doesn't get hurt." But again, these are egregious examples. There's another one that is kind of, I can't even get into it right now, but there have just been these several things with dads recently where I'm like, guys, let's get out of the mindset of like I'm helping by taking my kids to the park and into the mindset of these are my children and my full on responsibility, and I need to treat this with the utmost seriousness because it's probably the most serious thing I'm going to ever do. And although I know, again, I don't want to keep on stipulating, but I do know that you don't see the full story. I have no idea what's going on in these parents' life that day, yada yada. I'm not saying you're a horrible dad or any of those things. It's just, I feel nervous when I'm seeing these things happening in front of me. And is it the end of the world if these kids are running up the slide? No, but it kind of would be the end of the world if a 2-year-old
got
trampled on thrown off the slide by two bigger kids roughhousing. Like, it actually is serious that there's kids safety involved in this little girl behind a car. I'm like, it's one thing to have a difference in opinions of how to parent and what level of risk you assume and whatnot, but yeah, I just think that I've seen a lot of moms at the park when I've been going over these past few months, and
moms just have Hawkeyes. Moms have Hawkeyes, and they are watching always, flipping their head always, know where their kids are. Of course, can a accident happen that all of a sudden your kid disappears because they move so quickly? Yes, but women are always looking around, and that's the first thing they prioritize. Like, it just feels like we understand the responsibility. Even us with our dogs, when someone walks into the house, I'm like, hey, I am not meaning to be rude to you, but my focus and my priority is on my dog right now. So even though we could be having a human conversation, my priority is making sure that I'm keeping up with my dog training and that she is navigating this situation where reactivity could happen, and that she knows my attention is on her. So with a kid, it's just like, yeah, it's really, really frustrating to see dads act like, I swear, I think that it can just be like, first of all, being unaware, and second of all, being lazy. That it's just like, I asked them, they didn't do it, I don't want to follow through, like, whatever. When things take physicality, like physically moving toward them, or take the mental load of trying to problem solve. This didn't work out. I clearly need to problem solve this with my kid to make sure that they understand why. Like, that would have been a great teaching example for them to say, do you understand why now that we are asking you to respect other people's space? Because it would have been really dangerous for you to run up that slide and trample a 2-year-old. You need to listen when we ask this of you. And neither of us are parenting experts. There's no one size fits all. But I think that women are so on it with being aware of what's happening, having their head always on a swivel, checking on their whereabouts, and it does sometimes really amaze me. And, everyone and their mom has pointed this out, but just how often the language, even with dads, is that like, I'm watching my kid tonight, so I can't, or like that type of thing where it feels like you are removed from the fact that your kid is your kid and as much your responsibility as it is your wife's or your partner's responsibility. Always. It should be
Mm-hmm.
shared always.
Percent. Also, this kind of bridges me into something I did want to share with the podcast because I am I was about to say I'm really good about. It's not like it deserves a huge pat on the back. I just treat this job like I would any other job, and I'm not on my phone while we're together because I'm being present with him. And I just have noticed more and more that my phone or my computer has been making its way into my life more frequently. I feel like Quinn and I go through cycles where we end up bringing this up, but I think it is such a I don't like using the terminology like a battle. I don't want to act like this is like such a battle in my life, but clearly technology just keeps on being thrust upon us, and we are just trying to like digest and figure out how to exist in a screen centric world without scrambling our poor little brains. I know for me, I used to have such a low screen time. I think that when that feature came out, it was when we were in college, right? I don't think it was high school. I remember
Yeah.
it being in college, and I felt like, wow, I actually feel really good about this. I have an extremely low screen time. What has happened is that has gone up over time. Now, sometimes when I hear other people's screen time, I think, okay, mine's not that bad. But the point is, it's not in comparison with other people. It's with how you are feeling and I am feeling with it. And
Yeah.
I am feeling like it's too much and it's out of control. And that's where I don't want to be in the space of it feeling like it's out of control. Some different cues for me are the fact that I have been getting on my phone in bed, which that has always been a no rule for me, that I do not want to touch my phone first thing in the morning or before last thing, like before I go to sleep. That I think is bad for my brain and my sleep and my motivation and all these things. And that I have been finding myself more and more where I have picked up my phone and it's for no particular reason, and all of a sudden I'm picking it up and you know which apps you get into, and then I'm like, wait, what just happened? Why did I do that? So I'm
Yeah.
clearly forming a habit that I need to counteract, combat, let go of of feeling like there needs to be that stimulation. And this is very buzzwordy, but I am feeling the desire for a bit of a dopamine detox. I don't know if that term actually is like a specific thing, like 75 hard or whatever, that you're supposed to do, but what I mean by that is just stop giving myself all this stimuli, all this input, so that I can just
Regulate.
cool the engines.
There,
Yes.
I mean, it is a legitimate thing. You can research about it that there are like the true dopamine detoxes. The professionals who know about your brain and like brain psychology don't believe in a 100% dopamine detox, obviously, because you need dopamine. Like, that is something we don't want to just have nothing of. But I think the point for you, what you're saying is you want to have what feels like a reset of really pulling back on the compulsions of just what more happens that you're saying. I don't want to say like fighting a battle. It is people, it's acknowledged now that phone addiction is taking over our generation. It is extremely difficult, especially being people for whatever the reason is, but for us working on our phones, that makes it really hard, where you would love to be like, I just don't, it would be great to say, I don't want a phone at all. Or, you know what, instead of an iPhone, I'm going to get myself just a flip phone that just texts and calls. That's clearly not the reality we live in. And we also really appreciate the convenience of being able to search on Google when we want to look up a recipe or have a question that comes to mind, or use maps to navigate somewhere. We're very privileged with our phones, but of course, we want those benefits. But it does. I've sewed this last week, and I know that for me personally, when I'm going through more stress, overwhelm, hard feelings, I notice that that is when I am reaching for my phone the most, to kind of disassociate. And when the day that we had to put Captain down, I noticed that that day I was like picking up my phone to scroll so much, and then said I'm powering off my phone and put it in a drawer, which is my classic move. If I'm like, this, no, enough is enough, I have to turn it off and put it out of sight. And I felt so much better the rest of the day, actually being able to just connect with my feelings and move through that and not be just being mindless. But I so know how you feel, right? Because I have been feeling like tension, that my phone literally is like radiating out to me, and I'm like moving toward it. It will be behind me and I know it's there, and I will be thinking, like literally gravitational pull toward my phone, that what when it's placed in the bathroom somewhere around. I am very specific about my skincare. I do not I always wash my hands before touching my face. So I will set my phone down, and this has happened multiple times this week, that I've set my phone down to wash my hands to be able to do my skincare, and that I will then feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, like this thing, what is it? This thing is pulling at me, and I will literally be thinking about that I haven't picked up my phone and opened it and done whether it's a quick Instagram scroll or just click open to see if there's a notification, and that's killing me. And I have really got to the point again where I feel the same way. I'm like, I need to reinforce some boundaries, because to just pick up the phone for no reason feels horrible. It just feels so like you are not the captain of your own ship, and your body is just like ruling itself with you're just operating like mindlessly. And it's a horrible feeling to feel like you don't have control over your time like that.
And it's hard to know the best way out of it, because a lot of the solutions that you think of, there's like an excuse not to do it. And I do think that part of it is just having to remember that you can always come up with a reason. Like I've thought about, oh, with certain periods of time, actually blocked out in the day, that is just, you're not on your phone at all. But then you think, well, what if somebody needs me? And that is hard, because you want to be accessible to your loved ones and the people that are counting on you. And I do think that while that's supposed to kind of ease stress by reassuring people that if they need something, you're available, I think it heightens our stress, because most of the time, by far the grand majority of the time that I'm ever contacted, it is not because of an actual like emergency necessity, something that couldn't be addressed later. But you let like that very small, at least for me, my like 0.5, if even that percent of the time chance that it's like this is an actual emergency, then that's dictating how I'm using it, because that's the excuse I've made up. But I don't know. I think the reason that so many of us are struggling with this is because it is hard to figure out what's the way around it. What's the way that I can live with this copacetically and have like the social media time that I do want, and prevent this time that I don't want, and have the times that I want to listen to a podcast or an audiobook, but not have my headphones in my ears all the time, and I'm never just like doing a task and letting my brain have free time,
Yeah.
free think mode, which I do think as people is extremely important and is also important specifically for me to be creative. And when I'm going to like write something or make a video or whatever, I feel very creatively stunted if I've just like had input all day and I haven't had that time for the actual output to happen. It's a tricky issue, but I do think that a hard and fast rule for me is no shows unless it's during like the evening or set aside time where I'm actually watching it. Because Quinn and I used to never be like background TV people because our family didn't have TV growing up, so that was easy. Like it was just not playing, and so we were not used to having a show on.
And in
the
fact, I
background.
despise walking into a house and the TV is turned on and the cable is just like there's a program on the TV. I despise that. And does that, am I being judgmental? Yes. No, I don't care for you, but I care for me. If I'm coming over to your house, unless we're watching TV together, but for that to just be the background, no.
I know. I also don't like when I'm hanging out with a person and they put a show on, but then we're chatting. It's
To
like, are we
just
going to
talk?
watch something
No.
or chat? I do not
Ugh.
like a background.
Yep.
But then I've been treating myself like that. Like I've been having something playing while I'm doing chores, which is not my, like, I don't know. I just have been feeling like, what's even the point? You're not watching it. You're just half-assing
Maybe
both things.
you need to think about it as that giving you the ick about yourself. Because you know what really gives me the ick? The point of time when I was dating in college, because I, for most of college, had a boyfriend, but there were times that I was dating. And I would go over to a guy's house or whatever, and they would turn on a show for the whole time we're hanging out, or a movie for the whole time we're hanging out. And if they were wanting to, whatever, if it was going to be more of a hookup situation, making out, and we weren't paying attention to the movie, never were, not just having normal conversation. And then you're just like making out with a movie in the back. I was like, I have never felt like such a gross, like childlike gross. It just made me feel so, I'm like, this is the least sexy thing in the world that you turned on freaking, I have a specific instance in mind of what is that space movie that everybody loves? I had never even seen it before.
Baseballs?
No, bitch. No. It's the one where the astronaut gets like
Star Wars?
stranded.
Oh, Interstellar.
Interstellar. I had
I've
never seen
it either.
And he was talking.
I say Spaceballs.
Spaceballs
and it's
is fucking crazy, Riley. No, it was Interstellar. And he turns out, and he had hyped it up to me. He's like messaging me about it, being like, "This is my favorite movie. Let's watch it on Friday night or whatever." Get there, he turns it on. Does not even try to talk to me. Does not even try to like let me watch it, and then tries to start making out with me and whatever the rest. And I'm like, worst time ever, in that it was, first of all, dark the whole time I've been here, that the second I came in to your place, you turn the lights off, turn the movie on. I don't know you. Like, and now Interstellar, that's apparently your favorite movie that you wanted me to see so bad. You clearly don't give a shit about me seeing it. You want this to be the soundtrack to
I think that
your hookup
in college
Ew.
is just the guy's way. That's like the founding of Netflix and chill, because they don't know how to actually just be genuine and like tell you what they're wanting or hoping, or just
or
ask you
have
like,
a conversation
hey,
at all.
Yeah, I would love to like hang out and get to know you. It's like I don't want to get to know you, so a movie prevents that. But then I feel like I'm setting the scene for some cozy vibes, which to me is wild, because especially
It was
if I'm
not
actually
cozy
excited,
vibes.
especially if I'm
We're not cozy.
excited to see a movie, I like already have my
Literally.
mind made up that I want to see it. And I
You know
don't
that
want-
Riley and I like movies. I was like, you know how much better it
Yeah.
would have been if I just got to watch the movie, even though it's from your little fucking twin bed, which I'm not trying to be a hater, but that like in the dark, I don't even know the location. Like, where's the bathroom in this place? You turned off the lights the second I entered. And then when I shut this thing down and was like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in another date, he was like, I literally like you so much, Quinn. And I'm like, and I knew him through a friend, and they were like, he is so sad. Like, he really was hoping you would be his girlfriend. Like, he cannot stop talking about you. I'm like,
Well, sorry, that's not the
about
way to my
what?
heart.
No, what are you even? No, sir. So, Rye, maybe you have been more so having a show on. I remember literally listening to, I think it was like Emma Chamberlain's podcast a year or two ago, that she said like you can romanticize chores by having a show on in the background. So I tried it with an episode of the Kardashians because I was like, I don't care about what's going on with this. My ADHD could never. It was so hard for me. I felt so mentally exhausted trying to be staying on task, and then you don't actually want to look away from the screen, and you don't actually want to get up from what you're doing. So I'm like trying to do 100% of my chores on the floor where I'm sitting, can't move.
Yeah,
that's
it definitely just
doesn't
makes
work for me.
everything take longer. And I think, again, we just are not giving ourselves the benefit of lots of time for thought throughout your day.
Yeah.
And we're truly drowning that out by on every walk, during every commute, during any little moment that could just be downtime for a little quiet in your head, making sure that that never happens. And I have the app Headspace, which is a meditation and more app, and it gives you, if you want, a notification about mindfulness each day, which I highly recommend because it's like the one notification that actually brings me something good ever on my phone. I've turned off a lot of my notifications because I don't need to know. Like, these things happen. I don't need to know when I get an email. I don't need to know when somebody has like sent me something on Instagram. All those things I can go into this specific thing and check up when I need to see it. But I think notifications just encourage you to open your phone because you feel like, oh, there's something there, even if it's not really relevant and it doesn't need attending to. But Headspace
Yeah.
said, long story short, I forget the actual line, but next time you're waiting in a line, try not being on your phone and just taking the few minutes that you're going to be in this line to exist. And I thought, wow, things really have gotten dire that anytime you're waiting for something, most people are probably actually like this, looking at their phones, and you're just about to get a coffee. Like, for 2 minutes, can we just like be patient? And we truly are ruining that side of our brains. I haven't read The Anxious Generation, but I've heard a lot about this book. But I'm like, it's no wonder that a lot of us are getting anxiety disorders. I'm not attributing it all to that. Of course, that there's also, I think, been like better recognition of mental health and these things. However, I know how I feel when I've been more like pulled into this space instead of existing out in the world, and it definitely feeds my anxiety. Also, caffeine. You might have seen the other day on my social media that I was tweaking because of caffeine. Something Quinn and I have addressed on the podcast. It's something that I know. But again, we know these things. Like, we know what's good for us and what isn't. We know that ultra processed foods do not give us the same thing as whole foods. But it's hard because things that are like tempting and quick, like it's hard. It's an ongoing thing and not something that you just master, and it's like, yeah, I'm like the wellness queen and I never do something that's not going to serve me the best.
Yeah. I think making boundaries around the phone is incredibly important, and I honestly, I feel great. I'm like, maybe I just want to brag this episode because also I I do sometimes, of course. Of course. I do sometimes in a line or waiting for something get on my phone, but I challenge myself constantly and I always have. Like since being an adult with a phone, I really try. But then there are things that I'm like, oh, this is a time I actually could get back to these messages that I've put off or whatever. So sometimes I will be like, this is a time to accomplish stuff on my phone. But I oftentimes put my phone away while I'm waiting for my spot at a restaurant or while I'm waiting for my coffee or if I'm and I think everyone probably agrees that it's a lot easier to be off your phone when you're with other people in a situation like that if you're waiting with a group for a table, but if you're waiting alone, I even though I will be off my phone, I will be thinking I wonder sometimes if people are perceiving like, "Oh my gosh, she's just sitting there or whatever without anything to do." And I'm like, no, see, I am really owning it and owning my confidence. And now I feel like when I'm waiting without being on my phone, I'm just exuding. I am confident in what I'm doing with my time. I'm at peace with the fact that I'm sitting here and I am looking at the crack of this wall and I'm actually interested. I am like, oh, what's this little something right here? Or you can look at, there are so many places you go in public that have a little bulletin board that you can look and see actually what's happening in your community spaces. And when you lift your eyes up and look around, it's amazing. All of the things that you notice.
Also, you know what's not giving confident is phone posture. Like, it's not good for your neck, back vibes to be in this like laptop and phone C curve all the time, and
Ugh,
we
it
don't deserve
hurts.
that.
It hurts
It's
so much to be
putting
like
the
this over
actual
all the
weight of the
time.
world on your shoulders with
And the eye
gravity
strain?
like falling upon you. Oh yeah.
No,
I
all of that is
seriously, my
horrible.
eyes were like the first clue in for me that I'm like, this is getting bad because my eyes, I just noticed, were like, if I wasn't scrolling or doing something on my phone, I immediately noticed the eye fatigue. Like, I don't notice while I'm doing it because you're getting like the dopamine hits or your attention is just so gone. But then when I wasn't doing it, I'm like, wow, I do have a subliminal like headache happening that I should probably
Yeah.
get on top of, and I can't see like 50 feet in front of me. So,
Yeah. I am so afraid of what it's going to do for my vision long term, and I try so many times throughout the day to look out windows and to just focus on things as far away as I can, and that does, like, it feels so good on my eyes to look far away. Literally love looking. I'm just someone who always like we grew up always being such, oh my gosh, did you see this tree? Oh, look at the mountains right now. All of us girls in our family are all the time like, wait, look over there, look how beautiful, oh my gosh, because also we grew up surrounded by nature, and when you're in an open space and you're outside, it's so fun and easy to want to look around when things are beautiful. um but that helps me so much, is just connecting. Really, outside time is such an incredible reset for me, and that's, I feel very privileged and lucky to be able to step out of my door and be outside, like truly outside with trees around me and wide open space. So that is a privilege that I know not everyone has, but I think anywhere you are, that still, if there's a window, if there's, you step outside, even if you're stepping outside and you're in the city, like look up and try to look as far into the sky or to the top of buildings or whatever, even, when I get tired, I can pick up my phone and then spend time that I wish I didn't spend on my phone. And I have been still doing a great job of not bringing it into the bed with me because I charge my phone out of my room. I leave it out of my room at night and don't bring it in with me. But I have noticed, like I said, with this past week, with me being above average, very stressed and exhausted, that I will at night pick up my phone to scroll and be like, are you kidding me that I just wasted this time, even if it is half an hour, that I wish I could have been sleeping or reading, that I don't feel, I particularly at night do not feel fulfilled by my screen time. I'd rather be watching a show, which then I actually do enjoy and would be fulfilled by. So I think screens in general can be the enemy, but for me, my phone is definitely the biggest struggle than any other piece of tech.
Yeah, I agree. I just want myself to be like in its normal human form. And for me, I think that that includes being outside, particularly in the dirt, and gardening is an activity where I never even listen to music or an audiobook or anything. Like, I always just go
Hear the birds
full,
chirping.
yeah, full, what is the word? Why did I just forget? But analog. I go full analog and
Analog
I,
was the word.
yeah, I don't use anything, not even because I've made that rule for myself. I just am so like present and in the moment when I'm gardening. And I think it's because you are like looking at plants, which I'm obsessed with, and doing something with your hands and having to think about a task. And also, you're outside, so it's already just very pleasant, yes, with the birds, yada yada. And another thing is my phone never has to be in the bathroom with me. Like, it just simply doesn't. It doesn't need to come with me on that adventure. I am not someone that wants to be spending extra time on the commode because I'm on my phone. If I were going to have phone time, I would way rather have it be out of the bathroom. And those little moments throughout the day that we have all like normalized being on our phone for is just like, please reclaim your brain. And I went full headfirst in the deep end with my dopamine detox this morning because I went to a yoga class. There's a new building at UVA and they're offering some like free community classes. This was my first time going and I looked up beforehand what studio I was going to be in and then was like, okay, I'm not even going to bring my phone because won't need it. Just go in there. I come up, there's like a yoga mat pushed in the door to hold it propped open. So I'm like, okay, great, that's the studio. Go in, and there was no one inside. And I thought, okay, this is it. It's a 2 hour block, and it says like come and go as you please. It's kind of like it's an Ashtanga class, which doesn't really matter. But long story short, it has like a set series of poses, which is why you can come and go, because if you know it, then you just do your flow, but there's an instructor there that can teach you if you need that. But this is more of like an individualized practice than maybe your traditional, not traditional, but what you might be used to of coming and having a instructor lead you through a series. And so I thought, okay, maybe like a lot of people just don't really show up for this because it is more independent and the instructor might have just been stepping out. So I started doing my own thing in the studio, and then it becomes clear that like nobody's coming, and I was like, okay, I did my little flow, but I have an open studio and I've been missing dancing for a while, so I did some dance combos across the floor. I full on did some like modern swings, some prances, some different things just to get my body moving in a more full way. And this was it. I went in at 7, so it was nice soft light and it was quiet. I didn't have any music plugged in or playing, so I was like, wow, look at me. I am really just like in a room by myself, no music or anything, enjoying movement, feeling my body, did a little meditation. What is the funny side to the story is then I left the opposite door of what I came in. I wanted to see more of the building, so I went that way and there was a whiteboard that said like that the class had moved into that studio and there were shoes and things and like there were people taking class in with an instructor in the other room, so I could have not I could have joined class. However, I got what I wanted out of the morning.
Yeah, that's perfect. You got to be alone. A big open studio room to yourself is so fun, especially with our dancer roots that you getting to do that. Like that just is such a nostalgic vibe for us because getting to be in the dance studio all alone was always so fun. Like no one's here. I get to just do whatever I want. But moral of story, Riley and I don't have a set up plan like, hey, follow this. And I don't think it makes sense. I think you do just have to be present with yourself and decide how do I want to reclaim this time of mine if I am putting too much of my life towards screen time, which I think so many of us feel. But hopefully the conversation inspires, yeah, maybe I do want to reevaluate that. I know that that's how I'm feeling. Sean and I have both been talking about like how can we schedule ourselves in a way that we just feel like we're spending our time most productively and not spending any of our precious time that we don't want to be phone time on our phones because time is so valuable. And like you said, there is a balance where there's an amount of time I want to spend on my phone and I want to spend on social media and that is fulfilling, but there is a very blatant cutoff where it feels like no, now this is consuming my life in a negative way that is making me resentful of myself and this and my phone and disconnecting me instead of what I want social media to do, which is make me feel connected with people.
100%. Thank you for being along on this journey with me because it does help to have people on that same wavelength with you for sure. And if you're feeling like spending some connected social media time where we do try to make our presence as grounding as possible, you can follow us at the Q&R code at Quinn Liliestrom or at Riley Liliestrom. And we're on YouTube at the Q&R code as well. Thank you yet again for being with us. We had so much fun with our episode last week and this week and every week. I just love getting to record with my incredible twin sister Quinn, who deserves all of the love and joy in the world and is just such a special being and who I am going to be so grateful for on this Earth Day, along with all of you creatures and all of these wonderful little beings on our planet. We are such Earth girlies that we could have made an episode talking a lot more about Earth Day, but I think that comes up naturally. You know how much this planet and sustainability mean to us. Please see what you can do and how you can live your life that like honors the interconnectedness of all things in the best way possible.
Happy Earth Day, everyone. Riley, I love you so much. All of you, thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you next Tuesday. Bye.
Goodbye.